you mean by life process?
It's a process which we need to maintain life.
Yes, correct. See, all those processes that are required by us, they are, presently there to maintain the human life, also to sustain our life. So those kind of processes are known as the life processes. Okay. Now see, to perform any kind of activity, to perform any kind of process, we require energy, isn't it? Even for a little thing as walking or even, standing, we require energy for that process, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So because of that, for getting the energy to do our normal work, we require nutrition. And how do we get our nutrition?
By eating.
Yes, by eating, by the food we eat, isn't it? And same goes for all the organisms present on the earth, meaning every organism requires some activities to sustain their life, and to perform those activities, those organisms require energy, and that energy comes from the nutrition, meaning the food they procure. Okay. Now, in the case of single-celled organisms, okay, so do you people know that organisms are of two types? Organisms are of
Yes.
two types. First is unicellular, isn't it?
Unicellular.
Yes.
Yes, unicellular organisms. And what is the next type?
Multicellular.
Multicellular
Multicellular.
organisms.
Very good. Yes. So unicellular organisms, they are made up of one cell only, meaning their whole body is one cell. But in the case of multicellular organisms, more than one cells are present, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So now in the case of unicellular organisms, or the organisms that have just a single cell as their whole body, they do they procure their nutrition by simple diffusion. Since their body type is so simple, like one cell is there, okay, they do not need a proper digestive system, a proper circulatory system. None of that is needed in their body. Why? Because their body organization is very simple. So how do they get their nutrition? So the single-celled organisms get their nutrition by the process of simple diffusion. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. And
Yes,
can
ma'am.
anybody tell me what is diffusion? What is diffusion? See.
Taking enough food which breaks down into nutritions.
No. See, the process of diffusion is basically, if we define it very in a simple language, it can be said as it is the movement of substance from the region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So it means that whenever in the single-celled organisms, the nutrition is low, so it requires simple diffusion to get the nutrition from a higher concentration. So the nutrition process in the single cell organism is very simple. It is very basic. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's talk about what is nutrition. So nutrition, it is the process of obtaining food for health and growth. Okay, isn't it? Whenever we eat food or whenever we even drink some juices or what, we feel energetic, isn't it? We feel some sort of boost of energy in our body. So same way, nutrition, it is a process of obtaining food, the process by which we get the food for our health and our growth. Now see, nutrition is of two types. Okay, the first type is autotrophic nutrition, and the second type is heterotrophic nutrition. And you can also call them as the mode of nutrition. Okay, modes of nutrition.
Okay.
Yes, modes of nutrition. Now, in the case of autotrophic, see, auto means self. Okay, the organisms that make their own food, they are known as those organisms that have the autotrophic mode of nutrition. It means that they make their own food. Is it clear?
Yes,
and do
ma'am.
you know what organism make their own food?
Plants.
Plants, right?
Humans.
No. Humans can't make their own food. Humans are dependent on plants, okay? See,
Okay.
the autotrophic organisms are those organisms that make their own food, meaning all the green plants, okay? All the green plants and some bacteria, okay? All the green plants and some bacteria, they make their own food. And in the case of plants, what they do is that they use sunlight. Do you know the process of photosynthesis?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we often say that photosynthesis is the process by which green plants make their food. Is it right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happens in that is that during the process of photosynthesis, those green plants that are there, they make their own food with the help of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is present in the atmosphere. So they take carbon dioxide, they take water, they take sunlight, and with the help of chlorophyll, they make their own food. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, do you know where does plant take water from?
From the roots,
Yes.
From the
soil.
Yes, meaning the soil, isn't it? Very good. Okay. Now see, during the process of photosynthesis, what happens is given by the reaction. So it is denoted like CO2 plus H2O. Okay. So the plant takes in CO2 from the atmosphere, it takes water from the soil, and in the presence of chlorophyll molecule and sunlight, they make their own food, and the food of the plant is glucose. Okay, the food of the plant is glucose. And what is the formula for glucose? So the glucose formula is C6H12O6. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this glucose is the food of the plant, and along with glucose, the plant also produces water and it also produces oxygen. Now, can you tell me where is this oxygen used or needed?
By humans. It is
Yes,
used by
humans. We breathe in oxygen, isn't it?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it is used by humans. Now see, why are plants known as autotrophic? First reason is that they make their own food, right? They are not taking anybody's help. Rather, they are taking carbon dioxide, water, and in the presence of chlorophyll, which is present in their own body, and in the presence of sunlight, they make their own food. Okay. Now, this food, which is made up by the plants, they store it also, right? When we make food, is it like that we eat everything that we have prepared? No, right? Sometimes we store
No.
our food also, isn't it? So same
Yes,
way,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
in the plants also, the plants, they store the food product and in the form of starch. Okay, so they convert the glucose into starch to store it. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so starch is the reserve food material of the plants. Is this whole process of photosynthesis clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, let us look at the process of photosynthesis in depth, like in language, what happens. So the first step that takes place is that there is the absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll. Now, do you know that chlorophyll is a green pigment present in plants?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, this pigment, this green color pigment that is present in the plant, it is responsible for the absorption of light. As soon as the sunlight falls on the plant, what chlorophyll does is that it absorbs all the light that is falling. Okay, it sort of absorbs. Why? Because the plant requires sunlight to perform photosynthesis, isn't it? So
Yes, ma'am.
the
Yes, ma'am.
first step is absorption of the light energy by the chlorophyll. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Step clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now let us look at the second step. Now during that, the light energy which was absorbed, it is converted into a chemical energy. Okay, light energy is converted into chemical energy. Also, there is a splitting of water molecule. Now, why water molecule is split? See, during the process which we saw here in the reaction, we saw that carbon dioxide and water was taken, but the product was oxygen also, and we got water also. Okay, so that oxygen, which is the product of photosynthesis, it comes by splitting of hydrogen, this water molecule, meaning when this water molecule breaks, it gives us hydrogen and it gives us oxygen, isn't it? So
Yes,
in
ma'am.
the second step of the photosynthesis, what happens is that the light energy is converted into chemical energy. This is the first thing that happens. And then the water molecule splits to give us hydrogen and oxygen. Is it clear?
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, very good. See, if you have any doubts, you can stop me in the middle and ask me any doubts you have. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the third step of the photosynthesis, the reduction of carbon dioxide to form the carbohydrate. Now see, the glucose, that is the product of the plant, that is the food of the plant, it is a form of a carbohydrate. Okay. So in the third step of photosynthesis, the carbon dioxide which it was using, it is reduced to form the carbohydrate. And what is the carbohydrate?
Glucose.
Glucose.
Yes. And what is the formula for glucose?
C6H12O6.
Very good. Okay. Now, these three steps are clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there like any doubts regarding this?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Very good. Now, moving forward, we'll see stomata. What is stomata? So, stomata is a pore-like structure that is present in abundance underneath the surface of the leaf. So, for example, if this is the leaf surface, okay, now this is the upper surface and the stomata are present below the surface of the leaf. For example, if my hand is representing a leaf, so this surface is the upper surface, okay. The stomata are pore-like structures. Pore-like meaning small, these hole-like structures, these are present behind the surface of the leaf, meaning if this is the lower side of the surface, the leaf, then the stomata are present here, not on the upper surface. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So do you know why this happens? Why is stomata present on the lower surface and not on the upper surface?
So that transpiration doesn't take place.
Very good. Correct. See, transpiration is the loss of water through the surface of the leaf. Okay. Now, when this happens, a lot of water loss can take place from the body of the plant. If the stomata are present on the upper surface, meaning this surface is always exposed to the air. So it means that the water loss will keep on taking place. And once so much water will be lost, then the plant will die. But to prevent that, the plants are so smart that they have the stomata on the lower surface, so that this portion, the lower surface, is not exposed to the air. So that is why the transpiration is checked by this mechanism. Is it clear to everybody? Why
Yes, ma'am.
stomata
Yes, ma'am.
is present on the lower surface?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, let us talk about what is the function of stomata. So, all sorts of gaseous exchange, meaning the taking in of carbon dioxide, the giving out of oxygen, it is done or it is taking place through the stomata, meaning all sorts of gaseous exchange takes place through stomata. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Now, see, this stomata obviously cannot be opened every time, isn't it? Have you heard this fact that the plants, they can make their own food during the presence of sunlight, which is during the daytime, and in the night time, this stomata closes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So it means that the stomata sort of opens and closes. There is an opening, closing mechanism that takes place in the stomata.
Yes, ma'am.
So that opening and closing of stomata, it takes place with the help of guard cells. Okay. See, if this is the stomatal pore, then there are guard cells present around the stomatal pore. And what happens when the guard cells absorb water? Okay, they become swollen. Okay, they become really fat, meaning if, for example, these my two hands represent the guard cells. So as soon as they absorb the water, they get swollen up, and as they get swollen up, they open. They open and the stomatal pore is open. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. And what will happen when the guard cells will shrink?
It
Water
closes.
will go back to its original.
Yes, the stomatal pore or the stomata will close. Why? Because the guard cells, when they were swelling, the stomatal pores were opening. But as soon as the guard cells will lose the water, meaning it will shrink, then the stomatal pore will close. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, we have to know that everything that is taken up by the plants, where is it taken from? Okay, for example, I told you that CO2 is taken by the plants. I told you water is taken by the plants. So the CO2 which is taken, it is taken from the atmosphere, isn't it? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, these are present in the atmosphere.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So the carbon dioxide, it is taken from the atmosphere. The water, as you only told me, that it is taken through the soil with the help of roots. Then other substances are also there, such as nitrogen, iron, phosphorus, and magnesium. All of these things, all of these compounds are taken from the soil. Okay.
Okay,
These
ma'am.
are obtained by the plants from the soil, meaning when the plants are absorbing the water from the soil through the roots, these all like nitrogen, iron, phosphorus, and magnesium, they are also getting absorbed along with the water. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, let us talk about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now see, what is heterotrophic mode? So see, autotrophic, now you understand, is that all the green plants make their own food. Okay. Now heterotrophic mode of nutrition is possessed by those organisms that cannot make their own food. They are either directly dependent on the plant or indirectly dependent on the plant. Now, directly dependent on the plant, for example, do you know herbivores?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So those organisms, they eat grass, isn't it? They eat grasses or they
Yes,
eat
ma'am.
plants of different sorts. Yes. So since they eat the plant, so that is why their mechanism of nutrition is directly dependent on the plants. For example, if you cut all the grasses, if you remove all the plants, will the herbivores survive?
No, ma'am.
No, because they can't eat any other thing than plants. So the herbivores, they are directly dependent on the plants. But us humans, do we eat plants?
A few.
Do we go to the field and we start eating the grasses?
No, ma'am, not like
No,
that.
ma'am.
No, we don't do that. But we eat the products of the plant, like we eat the fruits, we eat the vegetables, isn't it? So
Yes,
since we eat the products of the plant and not the plant, so we are indirectly dependent on the plants. Okay. Is it clear?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And also there are organisms like tiger and lion that do not eat the plant. Obviously, they eat those organisms that eat the plant. For example, if a deer is eating the grass, then the deer is being eaten by the lion. So lion is also indirectly dependent on the plant, isn't it? If the deer won't eat the grass, then the deer will die. And if the deer dies, how will the lion live? So lion is also independently or indirectly dependent on the plant, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, heterotrophic mode of nutrition, apart from that, which I've told you, like direct or indirect, there are three other modes of nutrition that come under the heterotrophic. The first one is saprophytic. Okay. And it is exhibited by the fungi, wherein they get their nutrition from the dead and decaying, meaning all those dead and decaying parts that are present on the surface of the ground, the fungi, okay, they are there to digest it and get their nutrition. So that is saprophytic. Then there is parasitic, meaning they are present or they are deriving the nutrition from the body of another organism. Okay, meaning they are not making their own food, rather they are depending on the other organisms to get their food. Okay, parasites are of two types, endoparasite and then there is ectoparasite. So endo and ecto. See, endoparasites are those parasites that are present inside the body. Okay, for example, viruses. Do you remember COVID?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, how everybody was infected by the virus, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
So that virus was a parasite which was present inside the body. It wasn't present on the outside, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Since the virus or the worms that people have, so those are present inside the body, and what they do, they derive nutrition from our body. So that is why they are known as endoparasites. Okay? Meaning they are parasitic inside the body of the host. The person or the animal who is being attacked by the parasite is known as the host. Okay? It is known as the host. And talking about the ectoparasites, so the ectoparasites are present on the body, not inside the body. Okay. Have you heard about leeches? Do you
Yes,
know
ma'am.
what
Yes, ma'am.
leeches are? What do leeches do?
They suck blood.
They suck blood, and when they get stuck onto your body surface, they start sucking blood, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So do leeches go inside the body to suck the blood?
No,
No.
ma'am.
No. Very good. So that is why, since leeches, they suck our blood, but from the body surface, meaning on the body surface. So the leeches are ectoparasite. Okay, they are present on our body, not inside our body. Okay. Then
Yes,
there are
ma'am.
other organisms like lices. Head lices, they are present on the scalp. So they suck our blood through the scalp also. Then there are ticks. See, these ticks are present on the pet animals like dogs and cats, and they suck their blood on through the surface of the skin. So anything which is present on the body and it is deriving the nutrition from the other's body, so those are ectoparasite. And if they are deriving the nutrition from inside the body, so they are endoparasite. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now there is a third type of nutrition, which is decomposers. Okay, these organisms, what they do, they decompose, meaning when they make organic into inorganic forms or inorganic to organic forms. And the examples are earthworms and fungi. Okay, meaning they decompose the organic matter to change it into the inorganic form. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, there is a plant which is known as cuscuta. Okay, the common name is amarbale, and what it does, it is a parasitic plant. Okay, it is a parasitic plant. So even some plants are also parasitic. Okay. Now see, let us talk about the amoeba. Does everybody know about amoeba?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, amoeba are very lower organisms, but they have a very special mechanism of food or taking their nutrition. What they do is they create the food vacuoles. Okay. They have this special mechanism wherein if a food is present near the amoeba, what it does, it surrounds the food and engulfs the food inside. And it is done with the help of pseudopodia. It means false feet. Okay, it means false feet. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So amoeba,
Yes,
they
ma'am.
don't chew the food like how we chew the food. Rather, they make a food vacuole to get the food, meaning they engulf the food inside. And what they used to do it with? How do they engulf their food? With the help of what?
Pseudopodia.
Pseudopodia.
Yes, pseudopodia. And pseudopodia means false feet, meaning their body, it looks like this. Okay. The body is like this. And if there is a food particle here, so what they do, they make pseudopodia, meaning they make small feet or false feet-like structure, and then they finally enclose the food and take it inside. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
These
Yes,
two
ma'am.
structures that you see, they are not feet, okay, but they are false feet, meaning they make it only during the time of procurement of the food. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, there is another organism which is known as paramecium. So what that organism does is that it procures food through the cilia. Cilia, see, the body of paramecium sort of looks like this, and the whole body has small finger-like projections all over it, and these are cilia. Okay, these projections, they are cilia, and they help in the procurement of the food. Okay, so this is
Okay.
how the paramecium get their food. They use the help of cilia. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now let's talk about nutrition in us humans. How do we get our food?
Ma'am,
Yes.
in decomposer, they decompose the organic matter and convert it into inorganic.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, in the case of the nutrition in humans, okay, see, our nutrition, it is known as holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay, holozoic. Does anybody have any idea what is holozoic?
Digestion taking place within the body.
That is right. Anybody else?
No, ma'am. I don't.
Okay, see, holozoic mode of nutrition is that type of nutrition wherein, first of all, we will ingest our food, okay, meaning we will eat, and then it will get digested, and then it will get absorbed into our body, and finally, the waste product will get eliminated from our body. So this whole series of steps wherein, first of all, we are ingesting. Okay, so the first step is ingestion. Ingestion meaning taking in of food. Okay, then the second step is digestion. Okay, digestion meaning the food that we ate is now being digested. Then the third step is absorption. Okay, absorption. And also there is another step that takes place, which is assimilation. Assimilation. In this step, what happens? After absorbing the food, the nutrition that we are getting, it is distributed to the different parts of the body. So that is assimilation. And then the last step is egestion, meaning the throwing out of the waste food. Okay, so since our mode of nutrition takes place by procuring the food, then digesting, then absorbing the food, then assimilating the food, and finally ingesting the food. So this whole process or this whole mode of nutrition, it is known as holozoic mode of nutrition. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you know why the nutrition in humans is known as holozoic.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, for the process of getting the nutrition in humans, we have a proper functioning digestive system in our body. Okay, and this digestive system, it contains many digestive glands. Okay, so in the digestive system, digestive glands are present. And what are the glands? So the glands are liver, pancreas, and salivary glands. Okay, so these are the three major glands that are present in our body for the process of digestion. Okay,
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
do you know which is the largest gland?
Small intestine.
No, small
Pancreatic.
intestine is an organ. It is not a gland. Okay, I'm talking about the largest gland. See, the largest gland in our body is liver. Okay, it is very huge as compared to other glands. Okay, so the largest
Okay.
gland is liver. meaning largest digestive gland is liver. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, apart from the digestive glands, our digestive system also contains something which is known as alimentary canal. Okay. Now alimentary canal starts from our mouth and ends at the anus. Okay. So the whole canal system, the whole system of organs along with everything, it constitutes the alimentary canal. Where does it start from?
Mouth.
Mouth. And where does it end at? Where does it end?
Anus.
Yes, anus. So the whole canal system, wherein starting from the mouth and ending finally at the anus, is known as the alimentary canal. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, there are many salivary glands present in our mouth. Okay. Have you ever felt or noticed, like whenever you think about your favorite food or whenever something very delicious is right in front of you, we start salivating, isn't it? We
Yes,
start
ma'am.
thinking, oh, that is so tasty. When will I get to eat it? Isn't it? Does it happen
Yes,
to
ma'am.
you?
Yes.
What is your favorite food? Now, everybody tell me, which is one food that you will see and you will start salivating? Tell me, come on.
Pasta.
Pasta, okay. And what about you, Adil?
No, I don't have anything favorite.
You don't have anything favorite?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, if I'll see noodles, man, I get like so eager to eat it. So see, that salivation that takes place inside our mouth as soon as we see our favorite food or when we think about our food, it comes from the salivary gland, okay? And what is the secretion? So the secretion of the salivary gland, it is known as saliva, okay? So the secretion from the salivary gland is known as saliva. And this saliva, it contains an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase. Okay. The saliva which is present in our mouth and it is secreted by what? Which gland secretes the saliva?
Salivary
Salivary
amylase.
amylase.
No, salivary amylase is the enzyme which is present in the saliva.
Salivary gland.
Salivary glands are there which secrete saliva, and this saliva contains the salivary amylase. Now see what happens when we eat our food. Okay, as soon as you take food in your mouth, you start chewing it, isn't it? And when you chew it, saliva is released, and it is so as to digest the carbohydrates present in your food. Okay, do you know that our food contains carbohydrates?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very good. It contains proteins. It contains fats. It contains vitamins and minerals, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So as soon as we get the food in our mouth, this salivary amylase starts acting on the carbohydrates. Okay. And it digests the carbohydrate in the mouth only, but 30% only. So you can write it down that salivary amylase digests the carbohydrates in the mouth. It digests the it digests the 30% of the carbohydrates in the mouth. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Everybody has written it down?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay, so saliva, it contains an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase, and it acts on the carbohydrates and it digests it in 30% only. 30% of carbohydrate is digested by the salivary amylase in our mouth. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now see, apart from digesting the carbohydrates, the saliva also performs another function wherein when we chew the food, we decrease the size of the food, isn't it? We make it smaller so that we can swallow it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And this saliva also binds the food all together so that we can swallow it. Apart from making it smaller, the saliva wets the food so that we can swallow it easily. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. Now, after that, what happens is that the food that we eat, we swallow it, and as soon as we swallow it, it goes inside the food pipe, isn't it? The food
Yes, ma'am.
pipe is also known as esophagus.
Esophagus.
Yes, it is known as esophagus. And have you ever felt that when you eat, the food does not get stuck here, it goes straight down, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and that happens because of this movement, which is known as peristalsis movement. So as soon as you push the food down the food pipe by swallowing it, the esophagus or the food pipe, what it does, it performs a peristaltic movement, wherein a movement is sort of like squeezing and letting go, meaning like this. Okay, like this kind
Rhythmic,
of motion. Yes.
rhythmic
Yes.
contraction.
Yes. It is a rhythmic movement. It is a rhythmic contraction and relaxation. First, it will contract, then it will release. Then again contract, then again release. So in that way, the food travels down. Okay. So that
Yes, ma'am.
movement is
Sure.
peristalsis movement. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, as soon as the food moves down the esophagus, finally it reaches the stomach, right? And stomach is a large J-shaped storage structure. Okay, when the food is swallowed by us, finally it reaches the stomach, and there it is stored for a while. Also, see, now there are other 3 enzymes that are secreted by the wall of the stomach. Okay, for example, the food is reaching the stomach now. Okay, now as soon as the food reaches the stomach, first of all, it is stored there. Okay, first food is stored in the stomach, and after a while, what happens? There are 3 enzymes, meaning there is HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. There is an enzyme which is known as pepsin, and there is an enzyme which is mucus. Okay, so these 3 are secreted by the walls of the stomach, meaning the wall that is surrounding the stomach, it secretes the 3 enzymes. And what is their function? So the first function of the HCl, see, it provides an acidic medium. Do you know that hydrochloric acid is an acid, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So what it does, that the food that is present in the stomach now, it provides an acidic medium to the food, and also it physically breaks down the food. Okay.
Yes,
This is
ma'am.
the first,
Okay.
the role of HCl. Then let's talk about the pepsin. Now, pepsin is the enzyme that is again secreted by the wall of the stomach, and what it does, it digests the protein. Okay, meaning the chewed food that is finally being stored in the stomach, what happens? The pepsin acts on it, and whatever protein is present in the food, that gets digested. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now see, since this very, acidic hydrochloric acid is there, it is a very strong acid, as you must know, isn't it? Have you ever seen hydrochloric acid in your lab, in your chemistry lab in school?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, have you seen that the teachers are so careful and they don't let you go near it? And whenever you are using it, they are, supervision is there, isn't it? So that
Yes,
it doesn't
Yes,
burn
ma'am.
you or hurt you, isn't it? It happens.
Yes,
Why?
ma'am.
Because the hydrochloric acid, it is the strongest acid. Okay, it can burn the skin. Anywhere it touches, it can burn. So how can we survive if we have hydrochloric acid in our stomach? When it is burning our skin and it is so dangerous, how are we surviving with it being present in our stomach? Do you have any
Mucus.
idea?
Mucus.
Because of the mucus.
Yes, very good. See, the mucus is present in our stomach and it helps our stomach to not get burned by the HCl. Okay, meaning the mucus is surrounding the whole wall of the stomach so that the hydrochloric acid would just act on the food and not on our wall, meaning not on our stomach. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Very good. Okay, so now after here, what happens? What is digested in the stomach? What type of digestion is taking place in the stomach? Digestion of what is taking place?
Nutrients.
No, proteins. Protein digestion by pepsin. Okay, this pepsin enzyme, it is digesting the protein of the food inside the stomach. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, from the stomach, the food is finally released. And where does it go? So it goes into the small intestine. Okay, the food that is, which was, stored in the stomach, now it will move into the small intestine. And this release of food from the stomach to the small intestine, it is regulated by a sphincter muscle. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the just a second. Yes. So the food which was stored in the stomach, now it is finally released into the small intestine, and this whole process of release, it is regulated by a sphincter muscle. Okay. Do you know what is the function of a sphincter muscle? Anybody?
It controls the
Yes, say. See, whenever the food is coming from the small intestine. Yes.
entry of food in stomach. It controls the entry of food in stomach.
Yes, you are right, but it controls the back entry, meaning the food which is finally going from the stomach to the intestine. It helps that the food does not go backwards. Okay, it helps that the food would go forward only into the small intestine. It prevents the backflow of the food, right? Because we need the food to be, going further, not again back, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So this process, this regulation is done by the sphincter muscle. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the small intestine, it is the largest part of the alimentary canal. It is the longest. Okay. Meaning, apart from, like, if you compare the small intestine with any other part of the alimentary canal, it would be the longest part. Okay. And have you seen in the diagram, it is sort of convoluted like this?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't it? Now, can you tell me why it is convoluted like this? Why isn't it present in one straight line like this, and why it is present in curvy lines?
Because there are some nutrients which are not taken up from the stomach, from the food. So intestine takes the remaining nutrients.
No, that is right. That is correct what you're saying. But I'm asking you about why it is curved in shape. Why isn't it straight? I mean, just guess why. Okay, I'll tell you. Just guess, why would it be like convoluted and curved? Why not straight if it is the longest part?
For digestion to take proper. For
Digestion
digestion to
is
be
taking
proper.
place. No. See, it
To
is
make the process
to make the process easy.
slower, like not fast.
No. See, since I told you that the small intestine is the largest part, okay, meaning it is very long. Okay, and what is the average height of human? Along 5 feet and all that, right? How can such a long part fit inside the body of the small human, isn't it? So that is why it is curved like that. The first reason is to fit inside the body. Okay, despite of being the longest part, It has to fit inside the body, isn't it? So that is why
Yes,
it is
ma'am.
convoluted. And another reason of it being convoluted is that it increases the surface area. Okay, it increases the surface area. And when the surface area is increased, then we get more area for absorption. Okay. Is it clear? Why is it in that way, curvy way, not straight? Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
Is it
ma'am.
clear to everybody?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now see, the length of the small intestine, it depends upon the type of organism, meaning it varies from one organism to another. For example, the herbivores, okay, they eat grasses, isn't it? And
Yes.
grasses, they have cellulose present in it. And to digest cellulose, we require a lot of time and a lot of enzymes are required. So that is why the herbivores, they need a longer small intestine. So if you compare a herbivore small intestine to a carnivore's small intestine, then you will find that the herbivores, the small intestine which is present in the herbivore, it is longer than the one present in the carnivore. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So depending on the organism, the length of the small intestine varies. It is longer in the case of herbivores and it is smaller or shorter in the case of carnivores. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, see, the small intestine, it is the site of complete digestion, meaning here everything which was present in our food will get completely digested. Like how in our mouth, only 30% carbohydrate was digested, isn't it? Still 70% of carbohydrate is still left, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And in the stomach, what
Yes,
was
ma'am.
being digested?
Proteins.
Yes, protein was digested. Now, apart from that, some other proteins are left, fat is left, carbohydrates, the 70% carbohydrates are left. So now here in the small intestine, the digestion of everything will take place, meaning complete digestion of food will take place in the small intestine. Is it clear?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. Now see, the small intestine, it receives the secretions from the liver and the pancreas. And what is liver and pancreas? What are they two? They are known as the what?
Digestive glands.
Digestive gland. They are known as the digestive gland. So the small intestine get the secretions from these two digestive glands. Okay. Now see, when the food which was present in the stomach, now it is being transferred to the small intestine. So that food is acidic in nature, right? Because hydrochloric acid was acted on it. So the whole food is acidic. So what happens as the food reaches the small intestine, the pancreatic enzymes act on the food to make it alkaline, meaning to make it basic. Okay, from acidic to basic. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first thing that happens is that the food which is coming from the stomach, it was acidic. So the pancreatic enzyme is acting on it and then making it basic, meaning making it alkaline in nature. Then the liver secretes the bile juice. Okay, it secretes bile juice and this juice emulsifies the fat. Do you know the meaning of emulsify? What is the meaning of emulsification or emulsify? Anybody? See,
Digest.
no. The meaning of,
Breaking down.
yes. The meaning of emulsification is breaking down. Okay. So what the bile juice does is that it breaks down the fats, meaning the fats are usually in large globular form. So if the fat was present in this shape, then the bile juice would act on it. Okay. And then it will be converted into small molecules, meaning it is not digested. It is broken down. Okay. It is broken down into smaller pieces. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now
Yes,
see,
ma'am.
the pancreatic juice, which is secreted from the pancreas, what it does is that it contains enzyme like trypsin and lipase. Okay, two enzymes are present. The first one is trypsin and then there is lipase. So what happens? This trypsin, it digests the proteins, and the enzyme lipase, it digests the emulsified fats. Now these fats which were broken down by the bile juice, they are being digested by what? By the lipase. Is it clear? Is it clear,
Yes, ma'am.
everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, apart from this, see, we have seen what secretions are coming from the liver and what secretions came from the pancreas. Now, the wall of the small intestine, that also secretes an enzyme. There's certain types of enzyme, and those are known as the intestinal juice. Okay? Intestinal juices. And what they do? So they convert the protein into amino acids. Then they convert the complex carbohydrates into glucose, and they convert the fat into fatty acid and glycerol, meaning they break down. For example, proteins, they are made up of amino acids. Okay. So what they do is that they break down the protein into its, the components that protein is made up of. So the protein is broken down into amino acids. The complex carbohydrates are broken down into glucose. The fats are broken down into fatty acid and glycerol. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
And this is the whole mechanism of digestion, the complete digestion, and it is taking place in the small intestine. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, after this, after the complete digestion, the food moves on to the large intestine, isn't it? Now, in the small intestine, another thing happens. Apart from digestion, there is also the absorption there. Okay, absorption of food also takes place, and finally the waste product or the undigested food moves on to the large intestine, and from the large intestine the water, the roughage, the minerals, all of these are absorbed, and finally the undigested waste product is stored in the rectum, and then it is defecated by humans through the anus, and that process is known as defecation. Is it clear to everybody? Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so this was it, the whole digestion. Is there any doubts that come in your mind?
No, ma'am.
No doubts. Were you able to understand everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So that is it for today.